Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fanfiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Hours before, Naruto made it to the hotel he and his team could stay at. The hotel's ceiling fan was heavenly to Naruto, who had spent a lot of time today fighting in the sun, surprised he didn't pass out from the heat. Oh boy, the sooner they left Suna, the better. Hey, Shikamaru. Naruto, Shikamaru acknowledged the blonde, as he himself sat on his bed. Where's Ino? Out shopping or doing whatever Ino usually does. Asuma-sensei isn't here, right? Nope. Probably still at the meeting or doing something else in Sunagakure. Shikamaru scratched his head. Where were you all day? When Ino and I came to see if you were still at the ramen spot by chance, you weren't there. I met someone and got to spar with them. Groaning, Shikamaru held his head. Figures you of all people in the world would take a relatively relaxed trip and turn it into more training and fighting. To be fair, Temari challenged me, not the other way around. Naruto slipped off his sandals and sighed deeply. Oh, man. It's great to take those things off. All day I've been on my feet in this heat. He jumped onto his bed. And you? You've been here since after lunch? Didn't even go out like Ino? I took a nap. Figures you would take a trip and turn it into napping and lazing around, Naruto commented, countering from before. We both know each other so well. The Nara teen smirked. Wait though. Did you say you sparred with Temari? That Suna Kunoichi who tried killing us in the invasion? The one and the same. Naruto shrugged. Why would you even accept? I wouldn't even bother. Of course you wouldn't, but not because you're actually wary of her but because of the fact that it's sparring. Naruto sighed. Ino's right, you're a lazy bum. Have I ever made that fact unclear before or something? Shikamaru didn't look a bit abashed. Naruto hummed noncommittally, folding his arms to muse a bit. An idea came into his head. Say, remember what I told you before about getting stronger? The Nara teen gave him a blank look before realization dawned on his face. Shikamaru sat up groaning. Oh man, come on. Don't. We're on a mission. And? Naruto grinned. Mission doesn't matter. You can gain strength in any place. We can do that anytime then. Besides, didn't you just complain about being on your feet all day? I'm willing to help a friend out. Naruto shrugged. After all, don't you want to get stronger? Shikamaru sighed. I mean, can't we do that in our village? We can try it now. Why not? You're not doing much here. I'm resting, Shikamaru grumped, laying down on his bed now instead of sitting up. Naruto nodded. Yeah, right, nothing then. Resting is a verb, last time I checked, and verbs are actions. The Nara retorted. Don't make me get up, please? How about this? We rest up here for a bit. Then, we go and train. No. Come on. Just for a little bit. No, Naruto. How about I teach you something quick though? It won't hurt. What do you say? RGH. You're going to keep pestering about this, aren't you? Probably, yeah. Ugh, Shikamaru groaned out. Fine. Heh, it'll be fun. First, we'll get some chow, and then I'll show you a few things I know. Wonderful, Shikamaru remarked sarcastically before turning his head, trying to sleep on his side. Wake me up in 2 hours then, I guess. Why did I agree to this? It's so hot. Even in the evening. Shikamaru complained. Naruto wasn't sure if the boy would ever stop whining about things. They were already at the training grounds, so it was better to get things over with. Just a bit of light training, Databayo. Naruto grinned energetically. Anyway, let me ask you something. Do you know your elemental affinity? Yeah, Shikamaru grunted. It's the same as yours, Earth. Naruto cheered. Great. I was just taking a shot in the dark there. You had no other plan if my affinity was to Earth, right? Shikamaru deadpanned. Naruto whistled innocently. So, what are you going to teach me, O wise master? Well, have you worked much with it? You know, your Earth release? Not really. Asuma-sensei just had us do the chakra paper test. The black-haired teen shrugged. He promised to get back to it, but then the Chunin exams happened, and then the invasion happened, then becoming a Chunin happened. Okay. Naruto tried remembering the first time he used the earth element with his temporary teacher, Ebisu. Do something for me. Place your hand onto the ground. Shikamaru followed through with the request. Okay, what next? You're supposed to pick it up. Using chakra? Shikamaru lifted an eyebrow. Or are we out here in the desert trying to make sandcastles? Yeah, use chakra. Shikamaru sighed. Okay, when you're explaining things, how about you go completely into detail next time, Naruto? Okay. I got it. He was confused but agreed. Naruto watched the Nara glue his hand to the ground and send chakra to it in order to pick up the sand. However, Shikamaru's hand came to swing back up to hit him in the face. Naruto guffawed. Damn, smacked yourself silly. This is why I asked you to explain the exercise clearly. Shikamaru glared at the blonde, his face becoming red. I'm this close to leaving. No. I see what you mean. Sorry, Naruto said wholeheartedly with a sorry frown. The Nara grunted but didn't challenge his apology. Okay, yeah, let me explain what we're doing. I want you to get a feel of your earth release affinity. Grab the sand without letting it spill out of your hands. You need to be able to control the ground in order to use it, since most earth users use pre-existing sources of earth to use ninjutsu. Much better, Shikamaru approved with a nod. So, too little chakra, and I risk injuring my arm. Too much chakra and what? Your hand sticks to the ground and you have to stop channeling chakra. I ended up doing both during my training, Naruto admitted with a sheepish rub of his head. Shikamaru smirched before going back to his task. He put his hand, this time putting more, but starting to understand what Naruto meant by his hand beginning to stick in the ground. He stopped channeling and retried again. Finding the right amount was tricky indeed. This is only the first step, right? Yep. Learning elemental affinities take a while. And you learned it in a month? Sheesh. You're dedicated. Naruto smiled. Well, as I said before, I want to protect those precious to me. PSH. You mean show up Sasuke in the Chunin exams, Shikamaru remarked with a grin. As he stood up to get a breather for a few seconds and try rechanneling his chakra, he took a gander at Naruto. His grin disappeared when he saw Naruto had a frown on his face. Something wrong? No, just, what you said was true, I suppose. What's up? Something happened between you and Sasuke? Oh. He's been acting weird lately. How so? Hey, are you trying to talk your way out of training? Naruto narrowed his eyes at his peer suspiciously. A little bit. I won't lie. However, I do see something's bothering you, so just spill it already. What's going on with you and the Uchiha jerk? Naruto, despite his sobering state, snickered a bit. Shikamaru only cracked a brief smile before Naruto sighed. Well, let's just say that Sasuke didn't quite take to me becoming a Chunin too well, and I didn't gracefully tell him either. Damn near bragged about it. I mean, usually, he wouldn't care about that stuff, but it seemed like it really bugged him. And then, a few days ago, we got into a fight. Like an argument? Naruto shook his head. Oh. You two fought physically. Yeah. We started beating the crap out of each other. Probably would kill each other too if it wasn't for Jiraiya-san or Jiraiya-sama stepping in and stopping us. Shikamaru rose an eyebrow. Hey, let me ask you something. Go for it. So, you're getting trained by the Hokage? Naruto flinched. Come on now. Learn how to lie better. Your sip-up there was obvious. Sighing, Naruto nodded woodenly. Yeah, I am training with him. Well, that's cool and all. Congrats. Did you tell Sasuke? No. But I remember saying Jiraiya-sensei's name when he dashed. Naruto paused before smacking his forehead. I'm a moron. I blurted it out. Called him Jiraiya-sensei and all, just like I did here. God damn it. And Sasuke is the jealous type, isn't he? He was super pissed, Naruto agreed with a nod. Okay, so I think you need the full context. Basically, Sasuke challenged me to a spar before I went on this mission. I agreed, at first, but then Jiraiya-sensei said I had to go on a mission the next day. So instead of fighting, I decided to just cancel it and tell Sasuke what happened. He got pissed, then we argued. He said I was rubbing my training in his face. I got mad at that and said some stuff that I probably shouldn't have said. That being? That he's jealous of me. Of everything. I've gotten so much stronger over the course of these 2 months. Naruto raised his right hand and looked at them, tracing the calluses and deep grooves of his skin with his left index. I'm leaps ahead from where I was. The Naruto from that mission in Nami no Kuni wouldn't have even dreamed of being as strong as the Naruto now. Back then, I already thought I was on top of the world. Probably that's what happened again. Naruto looked up at the darkening skies of Kaze no Kuni. I guess, maybe I let it go to my head. Not too much far off from the academy, to be honest, Shikamaru said unapologetically with a shrug. Every time you found something you accomplished, you thought you were the shit. Naruto smiled sadly, not arguing against that. I got so much to learn. And you will, right? Like you said to me before, stop moping and get moving. You can't obtain strength if you stand in one place, right? Shikamaru reasoned with a soothing smile. Stop getting mad at yourself and just move forward. Maybe even apologizing would be nice. Maybe. Is it wrong to say I don't want to right away? Naruto asked, smiling pleadingly. Shikamaru snorted. You and Sasuke are the weirdest friends I ever heard of though. Your relationship is so volatile. I don't want it to be. Sasuke pisses me off. Always has, Naruto grunted out. And I'm used to using that pissed off energy as motivation to get better. I've been doing that for a while. And he probably feels the same about you. You're not perfect. Far from it. I know, sighed Naruto. Okay, I think I will apologize. It might help out squashing whatever beef you guys got going on between each other. Maybe stop being so braggadocious and maybe he'll stop being an asshole. Naruto gave the Nara a dry look. I have a feeling that he's going to be an asshole until the day he dies. Well, I did say maybe. You can't fix everything. Shikamaru shrugged. Alright, enough talk. You had your break. Naruto grinned. Still, thanks, Shika. You think you're that much thankful to have me skip this training? The lazy Nara suggested hopefully. The blonde blinked. I really don't get you, Shikamaru. We both want to get stronger, so why in the hell are you so resistant to training? Just my character, I suppose. Shikamaru lasted another half hour before deciding to call it quits. Naruto protested, naturally, but only half-heartedly. After all, the Nara Chunin allowed Naruto to drag him from the hotel before to train, so at the very least Shikamaru did do that. Naruto, however, was not finished with his training and would keep training until the night completely fell. Of course, this diligence earned him another chance encounter with the blonde kunoichi once again from earlier in his day. Like I said, you'll have an easier time figuring it, Gaara. And why would I want to? I don't think you have him all figured out like you think. As someone who deals with him on a daily basis, you sure had a lot of questions about him before. After all, do you have an answer to why he didn't just listen to his tailed beast? She was silent. Why he didn't just listen to his tailed beast? She had no answer for that. Why he didn't just listen dash shut up already, brain. Why dash? Ugh. That's it. Temari growled, opening her eyes again. It was no way she was going to sleep like this. She got up, fed up with all the thoughts in her head. Conversation said hours ago that would have been forgotten by most kept coming up so clearly. Temari was a person who was rarely weighed down by doubts. She knew what she knew, and it was true to her. She was a Sunagekure kunoichi with admirable skill in using wind release. She was the daughter of the late Kazekage. Her mother had died long ago, so much so that she barely remembers her face. She had only one reliable brother and the other wanted to kill everything in sight. And yet, the other brother that she had wasn't the sure variable in her life. Gaara had the power to transform into a monster, a demon, and yet he hadn't done so today. He could at the very least kill her in Naruto 9 different unique ways, possibly even more, and yet he hadn't done so today. She thought she knew him, figured it out. She thought a long time ago, possible forever, his mind, body, and soul belonged to Ichibi no Shikaku. She had thought he was Shikaku incarnate, and so as long as she kept her and Kankuro's head down, Gaara wouldn't look in the same direction as them because they weren't worthy enough to kill. Yet, Gaara had shown independent thought today. Gaara did not want to kill, despite Shikaku telling him to do so. He resisted. That didn't mean he wasn't inherently dangerous. Not at all. She stood by it. But, did he want to be dangerous? Arg. Why was this all coming up now? Because of what Naruto said. What did he even know about them, huh? He was just some random kid from Konoha. Besides their fights, he had nothing to do with them. He knew nothing about Gaara. How could he when Gaara's own siblings didn't know him? Damn it, besides Naruto, she did blame it on her own overthinking, analytic nature. She hated puzzles because they would stay on her mind until it was solved. She could remember plenty of nights she hardly got a wink because she was thinking of things way too much. She knew, without a shadow of a doubt, she was not sleeping at all. She didn't need to worry about taking missions tomorrow, besides maybe a low-level, D-rank that involved running around the village. Right now, however, she needed to seriously blow off some steam. The best way to stop thinking so damn much was swinging her fan in the wind with some training. She went to the training grounds nearby her place, the one where she frequented a lot, and the one she went to today to spar with Naruto. It didn't take long at all to get to it. She was expecting it to be there alone, no one really came in the evening to train there. However, she wasn't alone and the person whose voice annoyed her before and prevented her from sleeping correctly that night was there. She didn't announce her presence quite yet to the boy, watching him work. In his hands, one ball of chakra swirled bright blue in the night sky with the air seeming to be sucked into it. He held out his free left hand and another blue sphere started to form. Such a technique she recognized in her history books. Besides being infamous for his usage of that spacetime ninjutsu called the Hiraition no Jutsu in the Third Shinobi World War, the Yondaime Hokage had wielded the very same technique Naruto displayed control over. How in the hell did you learn the Rasengan, runt? Let alone two, she finished in her head. Naruto turned and shut off the two chakra spheres, frowning a bit. You again, huh? It's a public training grounds, you know? I am the one who showed you where it was at. Yeah, you're right. The blonde chuckled. You know this technique, huh? Of course. It's not like your Yandame Hokage was exactly secretive in using that technique. Naruto merely hummed. Temari figured she was not going to get some sort of explanation or hint on how Naruto acquired such a powerful technique that one, looked like it took massive amounts of chakra and two, a technique he apparently knew how to dual wield. Then again, if she thought about it some more, Naruto didn't seem to have a problem using lots of chakra with how he threw out shadow clones at her during their battles. He had chakra apparently in droves, which was strange for a kid like him. You're out here late training, aren't you? I can say the same to you, Fanchan, Naruto retorted. It's 10:15. I blame you. Huh? Temari sighed as she walked over to a wooden seat that was conveniently placed in front of Naruto. She took her war fan from her back, placed it in front of her, and leaned it on her shoulder. I couldn't sleep, quite honestly. Couldn't stop thinking about what you said earlier. Naruto blinked for a second. Ah, he uttered so eloquently, realizing what she meant. Temari rolled her eyes, sighing in annoyance at him but mostly herself. She was sure that at least a minute passed by before she said something else when Naruto's attention on her waned and he was starting to return to training. I don't know the reason. Okay. Confused again. I don't know why Gaara didn't just listen to the Ichibi, okay? It's been on my mind ever since you said it. Gaara confuses me and I don't like it. Just like you. She folded her arms while cradling her war fan. Sand billowed past them as the night wind picked up slightly. Gaara could have just killed us both today just on the Ichibi's whims. Yet he didn't. He even said he doesn't wish to live the way it wants him to live. But Gaara has been living the way the Ichibi has for years. Gaara was ruthless, killing anything that moved in our missions together. He would slaughter low-level missing nins, bandits plaguing the deserts, and even went toe-to-toe with a Jonin rank missing nin and killed him without even blinking an eye nor struggling. He threatened to kill me and my other brother, Kankuro, more than once. Even decided he didn't care about Baki-sensei either. He was unhinged. Now, I don't know. It's crazy how one thing he decided not to do today has changed my perception of him a bit. I was sure but now, I'm not. And I don't like it. What's not to like? Naruto questioned with a frown. Gaara's changing, probably for the better, and you don't like it? No, that's not it, she started to say but then paused, a tight grimace on her face. It's just hard changing my idea of him so quickly. He's been a monster in my life ever since I knew him. It also doesn't help that you, a person we didn't know of until that damn invasion of your village, could even phantom all of that so quickly. The other blonde shinobi was quiet, merely looking at her and she stared back. He finally said, with a shrug, I don't know. I think I just feel bad for him. Bad for Gaara? Asked a surprised Temari. For what reason? He's a Jinchuriki, for one. I don't think you understand what that means. And how do you know? That's what also bugging me. How do you know? The blonde looked conflicted. For a few seconds, he opened and closed his mouth, wanting to say something big. Finally, he just sighed in finality. It's not as simple as merely having a demon in you and it controls everything you do, or because you have one, you're suddenly more of a monster than others around you. The demon inside you torments you, makes your life like garbage, and people don't help. People look at you with contempt and anger, or fear and aversion. They don't try to be near you, they want to act like you don't exist, and yet, they talk about you behind your back when they think you can't hear them. The gears in her head worked quickly in her head and she gaped at him in astonishment. Are you implying? Naruto glared at her intensely, to which she flinched. Don't look at me like I'm any different than what I was before. We fought and trained together today, didn't we? I didn't. If I can act civilized around you and not so much want to kill you, maybe you don't know jack shit about the Jinchuriki. We're not inherently dangerous to be around. Or, at the very least, Gaara wasn't born dangerous and evil. He only became that through some sort of suffering. You may not know, but maybe you should ask. Get to know him. Change him. Do you wonder why a person like me could know about it? Well, you know why. Temari couldn't say anything. What could she say that wouldn't upset him or make it worse on her? Her understanding of Jinchuriki was limited to what her father, the fourth Kazekage, told her, and that was somehow flawed, especially how she was speaking to another Jinchuriki right now who apparently lived through something similar to Gaara did. And what about Naruto? She didn't feel any sort of ill will from him. She hadn't been killed or grievously injured by him in the Chunin Exams, nor the invasion of his village. He wasn't as intense or intimidating as Gaara. In fact, he felt approachable, talked like murdering people and killing wasn't his life's passion. She would be probably wrong to assume he was some sort of monster, so maybe her perception of Gaara was warped too. Temari nodded, looking at him evenly. You're right. I probably don't know jack shit about Jinchuriki, and maybe I'm wrong about Gaara. She didn't say anything else and neither did he. The air of awkwardness stood there until she broke it up again. So, do you want to spar again? Naruto blinked. Sure, why not? Before either could do anything else, a loud boom went off close to where they were, near the outer fringes of the village. A small, but a noticeable plume of dust and sand arose not far off from where they were at. What the hell was that? Is someone training out there? I don't know, answered Temari. It's not really often you see stuff like that happening. Plus, the desert isn't really a place most shinobi from our village trains at. Unsavory people or animals roamed the desert at night. I'm somewhat tempted to check it out, but if we heard that explosion, then the guards nearby should have also. Naruto could see the Kunoichi's face scrunch up in some sort of hesitance. Or I could do it. He raised his hands to do his favorite ninjutsu, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 2 clones were created. Go out there and see what happened. Dispel when you see what happened. The Konoha ninja's doppelgangers nodded before setting out quickly to the source of the cloud of dust and sand. Just around a minute later, Naruto's eyes widened as soon as he got the memories of one of his clones. Gaara's in trouble. Wait, what? Temari watched Naruto started moving towards the desert. She took her battle fan with her and put it on her back. How is he in trouble? There are 3 people after him. I know who these people too. They're trying to capture all Jinchuriki. Who would have the gall to try to do that? The Kunoichi said, mystified. She could not imagine any sort of person would try to kidnap Gaara, let alone Jinchuriki, who were these powerful figures across the elemental countries. Of course, Naruto, who was a Jinchuriki himself, looked extremely worried with a grimace that said differently. The Akatsuki, that's who. The sun completely disappeared, and the desert now was dark and a bit cooler because of it. A generous breeze in the air began and Gaara enjoyed it. It was just about the only thing about the beginning of his usual night journey that he enjoyed. He honestly felt much weaker when those seals were placed on him back in Konoha. He would have taken that in stride because it had given him what he needed for so long, sleep and mental clarity. For once, he could think and not feel like he had to give in. The redhead couldn't remember how long it had been since he enjoyed sleeping in a bed for hours without worry. Shikaku was silent and not trying to gnaw at his mind at that time because it could not. Gaara honestly did not want it to end. However, when Jiraiya inevitably released the seal when Suna and Konoha allied themselves with each other again, the Ichibi was back in full force, demanding that Gaara killed them all, especially Jiraiya. Shikaku's tormenting screaming began again and again. It was craving blood. Gaara could feel it. He did not wish to do what Shikaku wished, but Shikaku's bloodlust would not stop. It would only stop if Gaara killed. His patience was still a work in progress. Gaara could not give in to the beast, this lesson he had learned during and after the invasion. All these problems had to do with his faulty seal. Chiyo-sama had to do something about it, or rather he had to do something about it himself. He had not thought about it before for years, obviously since the night he decided to submit to Shikaku, but perhaps that could be changed. All Gaara needed to do was take the initiative. He had to become stronger. Strength could not be obtained like he was now. After all, if he wanted to. His inner musing ended as he smelted it, the faint waft of blood in the air. Shikako screeched sharply as a manic mantra from within calling for blood began. Gaara did not want to follow the trail, but the Ichibi kept talking and talking. Gaara would not kill if he didn't have to, but he had no fear to investigate nor fight. Ichibi no Shikaku wouldn't allow damage to come against its vessel because as much as it loved to torment it so, Gaara was still vital to its own survival. Gaara moved towards the source and in the dark saw two dead bodies of two Suna shinobi. Their beige flak jackets indicated they were either Chunin, Jonin, or a mixture of the two ranks. Fresh blood, he noted, much to Shikaku's delight, who wanted Gaara to lap it up like some dog. Oh, there you are. He turned around to meet an entourage of people in the back of him. 3 people stood behind him, 2 females, 1 male. One female was dressed in a simple light-colored, long-sleeved blouse with brown-colored glasses, had red hair like his own, and observed the genin with a steady gaze. She didn't look much older than him. The other woman on the other hand was an older teen with black hair, had a simple white tank top, dark-colored shorts, and similarly colored hiney boots on. Finally, the male was tall, burly, bare-chested with dark pants and sandals. The black-haired girl walked up and cocked a hip at him. She smiled. Hello, Sabaka no Gaara. It's awesome to finally meet the infamous genin who was known around the elemental countries to take B-rank missions so casually. Kill them, Gaara. They split blood, so you must too, damn it. Shikako cried inwardly, demanding, and now dead set on killing tonight. It screeched in its usually grating, whiny voice, don't deny me again. You haven't killed in so long, so kill them all. Ignoring the tailed beast again, he kept a steely gaze on them. Who are you? Gaara asked, simultaneously removing the lid of his gourd to prepare for battle. We're from a group that's looking for special people like yourself. That wasn't hard to figure out what that meant. He was called in a bit early by the Suna Council to discuss a group of people going after Jinchuriki. Gaara started gearing up his chakra, keeping up a front of nonchalance in his demeanor. Ah. You're here for the Ichibi. Sharp. I must admit, I didn't expect that. The teen shrugged. Then again, it wasn't like I was exactly being super cryptic. You must have believed I was a gibbering lunatic who only lives to kill. Actually, yeah. In response, Gaara sent a wave of sand at the group. It separated them, but they made no sudden moves. The kunoichi still had an easygoing smile on her face. Now. There's no need to fight. You have already killed 2 men from my village. You are already looking for a fight, Gaara corrected as he folded his arms. Poof. With the way your reputation tells it, I wouldn't have thought you to be much of a countryman. The teen gave the redhead a shrug. We can do what you like. The kunoichi stopped when the large man in front of her raised her hand. He spoke in a befitting baritone voice. There is no need for any sort of battle, Gaara-san. We swear we will not hurt you or anyone else. We merely want you to come with us. Our master has an offer for you. I will not be going anyway, Akatsuki. If you are here to get me, come and try it, Gaara challenged. The man shook his head in response. We are just here to talk to you. We are not Dash. You have already spilled blood. Let me return the favor. As the insane tanuki-like sand spirit cheered in Gaara's head, the Suna shinobi formed a claw made out of sand that resembling Shikaku's arm. With one mental command, Gaara swiped at the group. 2 things happened as a result. 1. The man had wrapped his now gunmetal-colored body around the redhead woman in the back and was flung back with her. The sand washed off his body like water. Recovering, they stood relatively unscathed by the attack. 2. The black-haired teen had appeared on the Jinchuriki's side at a distance. His sand shield ready, Gaara spared her a look. She did not look troubled, staring at him with the same smile from before. It grated on his nerves. Jintan Musho. His female assailant did one hand seal and then became a blur. She moved at a speed even faster than any shinobi he saw before. What was this, a Kekai Genkai? He could not think further on it. The Suna no Tate did not protect him in enough time as he flew back from Yumi's punch to his face. He gritted his teeth, glad that the secondary defense he had covering his skin, the Suna no Yoroi, protected him, but he felt the power behind her punch. She then disappeared again in the same technique and landed more blows on Gaara. He stumbled back to rest on one knee, almost falling to the ground. Such speed was almost absurd to him. It reminded him so much about his opponent in the Chunin Exams. A piece of his sand armor shattered away like glass. It was a good reminder that, unlike what he believed before, he was not invincible and his so-called absolute defense had chinks in it like any armor or barrier. Had enough yet? He looked up at the kunoichi intensely. She sighed, scolding, "Come now," like Tatsuya Shisho said, "there's really no need to battle. Don't be foolish. Shut up. Attacking me in my desert, or I can use all the sand in the world?" He pinned a deadly glare on the teenager. "You're the fool here." "Yumi!" Tatsuya, the male shinobi, yelled out in a warning. The teen, Yumi, looked curiously at her peer, until she looked up and saw a cloud of sand overlooking both her and Gaara. Yumi made the boar hand sign, looking to use the ninjutsu before that gave her more speed than the usual Shunshin no jutsu. She however didn't get the chance to move as sand appeared at her feet, holding her in place. With one hand to control the technique, Gaara, who sat on the floor still, closed his fist, and the sand holding Yumi in place crushed her ankles. As soon as he heard the cry of pain, he went to make his next move. Gaara was not going to stay there and gawk. One more hand seal later, and Gaara moved quickly with his own version of the Shunshin no jutsu. Another manipulation of his chakra and sand rained down on Yumi. But as soon as he thought that would be the end of one of his enemies, Gaara heard the call of the older male's technique. Koton, Ko no Tate. As the name of the technique suggested, a large steel shield was created. It appeared above Yumi, covering her head in an attempt to protect her from the hardened sand. Weaving hand seals, Gaara watched the man running up at him with pointed fingers. His sand quickly rose as metal objects shaped like bullets shot at him. Steel release, That indicated usage of a Kekai Genkai, the second one in this battle that he may have witnessed. So far, the supposed Kekai Genkai made a good showing of absorbing shots from Gaara's sand, but he wondered if it could deal with the crushing power of it too. He clapped his hands, beginning going through the sequence of hand seals swiftly. Finishing his next ninjutsu with another clap of his hands, Gaara announced lowly, "Ryusa Bakuryu." Sand rose from the ground, dirt and rocks and hardened minerals under the desert crushed together. With one manipulation of his chakra, his enemies faced the sand wave as it came forth towards them like a tsunami. He held in place, guiding the tsunami to wash away all three of his assailants. "Move!" Gaara heard the man yell. The man grabbed his female companion who was still hurt on the ground, while the other kunoichi long since jumped. In their stead, 3 stone pillars erected from the ground. They were high enough to prevent the tsunami from washing the enemies away, and the pillars did not crumble as sand washed through them almost harmlessly. The red-headed woman landed on one platform, while the man placing Yumi on another by herself. Then as he jumped in the air, the burly man started doing hand seals, and out of the ground came several dog-sized earthen dragons, clearly caused by the usage of an earth-release ninjutsu. The dragons flew past the flattening wave of sand to crash into Gaara. Gaara had to abandon plans of creating another tsunami wave to use another technique. Psycho Zetai Bogyo, Shikaku no Tate, intoned Gaara as he stood still, and some of the sand from his former technique cocooned him. Yards away, more sand from earlier was repurposed and it created another protective barrier of sand. The barrier was, like the name suggested, shaped like a miniature version of Shikaku who held its arms out. The dragons exploded on the shield and hardened dirt flew away. The shield held magnificently. He dropped the defense as the sand returned back to his gourd. "Koton, Yubadin," said the metal man. Gaara-san automatically came up to defend him as the man attempted to shoot metal projectiles at him shaped like bullets. Fast and somewhat piercing through his sand, but not completely and not enough for Gaara to worry. Gaara saw triple, however, as the man finished hand seals and two silver-looking clones came forth. They swarmed him, with Shikaka's-san working double time to keep them all away, but for the second time in his life, he realized there was no such thing as an absolute defense. With one quick ninjutsu of one of the clones, Gaara found himself pinned in a metallic cage. Knowing sand wouldn't be effective in breaking the metal, he was about to dip into his repertoire of other non-sand ninjutsu. He attempted to start using a wind release ninjutsu but couldn't get the chance as lightning zapped him. Even with his sand trying to come to his defense since it was made of earthen material, it did not matter one bit. After yelling for a bit more, he slumped, slipping into unconsciousness. The last thing he heard was both a howl of wind and a boyish, familiar cry from one Naruto Uzumaki. Temari glided towards the group, riding her fan as she manipulated the wind currents with chakra coming from her lower extremities. She made no other sounds as she touched down close to the action. As soon as Gaara got caught in the metallic prison created out of nowhere, she announced her presence with the creation of a strong gale from her war fan. The wind ninjutsu caught one of them, the large man of the group, by surprise, knocking him off his feet. One more wave of her fan summoned slicing wind, going after the two other kunoichis, but they moved. She waved her fan again, slicing the metal cage to ribbons with a super sharp wind. The prison fell and Gaara fell forward. In her peripheral vision, she could see Naruto, who accompanied her, stand to defend her Jinchuriki, looking pissed at the missing nin. She could marvel at why Naruto, regardless of his own Jinchuriki status, felt so at ease with helping them and simply leaving Temari to it, but she didn't. If he didn't come, clearly it would be a 1 versus 3 situation here, and anyone that could subdue and knock out Gaara was dangerous. She could not think more about it. As soon as she knew it, there was one of the ninjas in Temari's face, and she barely put her fan to guard herself. The metal man was there, giving her his full attention. As she dodged some of his blows and moved just enough so the others merely glanced, she gritted her teeth. How did the man figure out so fast that she wasn't so good at close range combat? The blonde kunoichi was only spared from more pressure from the missing nin when Naruto's shadow clones took Temari's place in fighting the missing nin. Mentally thanking the blonde Konoha Chunin for giving her the space she so desperately needed, she went for her war fan again. Kamaitachi no Jutsu. An alteration of her ninjutsu happened and the cutting wind came to slice at everything in her path. One of the metal clones protected the others by creating some form of a metal shield over their heads. The shield held, requiring Temari to use a stronger attack than the C-rank ninjutsu she often relied on. Meanwhile, for his part, Naruto's clones moved together in unison, trying to strike hits, but the man was fast enough to dodge hits and got in his space in the mixture to get his own ninjutsu off. Soon, his skin turned silvery gray and Naruto's clones dispelled by their own force once hitting the metal. Unconsciously rubbing his knuckles as if he had phantom pain from the memories his clones left him, Naruto decided that hitting the man regularly would break his hands. Naruto didn't let that deter him. If regular attacks couldn't hurt the man like that, ninjutsu would. More clones were made, foisted at the man as he charged up a Rasengan one-handedly. From his right, one metal clone moved to Naruto fast but not fast enough that he couldn't dodge it. Naruto rolled out of the way and slammed a Rasengan to the face of the clone. The Rasengan ground on it for a second before taking out a chunk of the clone's head and dissipating. Again, it felt like Naruto hit some sort of metal. The clone slumped and split into metallic shards before falling over. The other two clones lumbered over at him. Naruto responded by creating quicker two shadow clones who slammed Rasengan spheres at them. They fell, just like the first metal clone did. Well done, Naruto-sama, with dispatching my Kobunshin, the man praised in a calm but almost supportive manner. You're as good as I heard. The blonde Chunin raised an eyebrow at the polite, affable comments. Naruto-sama? That's funny. People from your organization last time weren't very polite like that. We mean no harm, of course. We only wanted to talk Gaara-san briefly with us, but as you can see, he got the wrong idea. We promised we do not want to hurt him. Yeah, right. Naruto scoffed, channeling earth-natured chakra in his body. Is that why you attacked him and put him in a cage? Were you just trying to talk to him then? He attacked us first. As I said before, he got the wrong idea about our intentions. Your intentions are clear. You Akatsuki members are so damn troublesome. I won't let you have him. Sequencing a few hand seals, 3 sharp spears of earth launched at the enemy ninja. Predictably, the man dodged and the rest of his clones went after him. Naruto started gearing up. His shadow clones fed him information from before that his opponent was immune to both normal taijutsu and bladed weapons. This ability that his opponent had reeked of a bloodline, and honestly, Naruto had no true illusions about beating this guy regularly. He just had to hold on until backup came to help them. Kyuubi, give me your chakra. Now that you started this mess in an effort to save that fool Shikaku and his weak vessel, you want my chakra? Do you want to lose here and potentially get captured? He snapped back at his prisoner, already pretty frustrated. He had little time trying to argue with the annoying bastard in his seal. Give me a small boost of chakra and that's it. A weakling trying to protect another weakling. Ah, the irony is amusing. The beast in his head mocked him maliciously but nevertheless imbued Naruto with an inferno of orange-red chakra. It was the familiar initial stage of using Kyuubi's chakra. It was just enough to make sure he felt like he had a nice boost to his physical strength and speed. It was enough of the demon's power he could handle without his mind slipping away. Clones now dispelled completely, there was nothing more between him and the Metal Man. The Akatsuki member ran at Naruto with a created blade in his hands. He took a telegraphed swing at Naruto, which he dodged. Naruto kicked at the man, enhanced by the Kyuubi's demonic chakra. It sent the man back flying. Before the man could land, Naruto launched himself at his foe with a Biju-empowered Rasengan, finding it even easier to create it as Kyuubi's chakra seemed to help with the process. A metal shield appeared glued on his forearms, and while his attack detonated on the shield, Naruto was sure it protected the man from a grievous injury. When the man indeed looked back at Naruto with a steely gaze, the teen felt more frustration. Dust kicked up, and instead of Naruto dealing with the missing nin, he was met with one metal doppelganger. The blonde snarled a bit in anger, now on defense against the clones as his real target left. Hypocritical or not, especially when it was coming from a guy like him, but he hated how many clones this guy was foisting at them. Boy, what he wouldn't do to beat the shit out that bastard spamming such crap. Bloodlust aside, the Jinchuriki noticed one of the shinobi tending after Gaara, hands starting to glow ominously blue. Speed easily outpacing the doppelganger, Naruto raced towards Gaara and a red-headed kunoichi who seemed to merely stare at him approaching. Get away from him! Naruto only managed to clash with the Metal Man. His hand jarred a bit at hitting metal, but it didn't deter him. He jetted to the left, summoned a demonic Rasengan, and destroyed the clone before it could retaliate. By that time, Gaara and the kunoichi were no longer in the same spot. Naruto was floored by an elbow to the face that knocked him to the side and into the sand. He stared up to see who hit him. "Come on, Karen, get your head in the game," said an older-sounding teenager, revealing herself to being another accomplice of the Metal Man. "You almost got your head knocked off." Sorry. It's just his chakra dash." "Yumi, I see you're back," the man called out to his ally, interrupting Karen's fumbling. "Is Karen-sama done?" "Almost, Shisho." "Handle Naruto-sama then. I shall protect Karen-sama and Gaara." As quickly as the Metal Man said that, the girl known as Yumi appeared in front of Naruto in a blur. Flashing a grin at him, the teenager unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks, faster than anyone he had seen, even Rock Lee. Even with his augmented speed and reaction time, he could not counter her hits. She would keep hitting until either he was subdued or he was forced to further his usage of Kyuubi's chakra. The latter would be the last resort if anything. On her side of the battlefield, Temari attempted to throw wind ninjutsu after wind ninjutsu at the man, but his clones kept throwing out shields. Her attacks bounced almost harmlessly off them. To be able to create clones like that must have taken a hell of a lot of chakra. To be doing it while using a bloodline probably took even more. Temari had a lot of chakra too at her disposal, but it wouldn't matter because she was going to exhaust herself way before this man. In his battle with Yumi, Naruto realized that attacking and landing a hit on his opponent was unlikely to happen. Every time he attempted to do so, the older teen drifted and dodged and moved out of any sort of counterattack. Of course, because he was losing terribly to his opponent, the peanut gallery had to come around and make fun of him. Of course, you can't touch her. Her bloodline allows her to move instantly with just some molding of her chakra. You move like a turtle to this hair. You know, the mocking voice of the Kyuubi started to suggest something. Naruto imagined the great beast in him smirking. If you took more of my chakra, this little bunny couldn't do anything against you. Shut up, he hissed back, trying to not fall into that temptation. Sure, Kyuubi was probably not lying, but he knew losing control was stupid, especially not in front of the Akatsuki or Temari. Why not listen to me? Become the fox against this rabbit. It's the only way to win this fight. You talk too much, you oversized furball. That only made the monster laugh nastily. You want to become nothing but a punching bag then? Well, I suppose you aren't far off from it now already. You pathetic fool. He tried ignoring the beast, not trying to become more frustrated than he already was. Losing any sort of control over his emotions had almost got him in trouble before, so he was not going to do it again. Still, the girl was drilling into him. More and more these punches and kicks would get the better of him if he didn't do anything about them. He needed to stick her in place and nail one good hit on her. Naruto started his plan to stop this relentless attacking by summoning and molding earth chakra in his system, expelling it from his midsection to create soften earth. He took the hit, allowing Yumi to kick against his stomach. Mud adhered to her leg, and then with one manipulation of his chakra, the mud hardened. She fell awkwardly to the ground and Naruto punched her square in her jaw. Her head snapped back, smacking against the ground. She slumped, clearly unconscious. Naruto grinned. Ha, he didn't need that demon inside after all. But he didn't have much time to celebrate and gloat further. Naruto growled as he started to rush to the leader of the group. Tatsuya merely stared, unbothered. Naruto-sama, there is no need for this. We do not want to kill you or your friends. His response from Naruto was an earth release ninjutsu that created the formation of blackish-brown mud forming under his feet. Temari, now. With me. Let's finish this bastard. Before Temari could do anything, Tatsuya sighed dejectedly. He casually walked out of the Doton, Yomi Numa, feet and legs sparkling with lightning chakra. Karen-sama, let us withdraw. But, Gaara dash. Don't you feel them, the people that are approaching from the village? I'm no censor, but even I can tell it is time to leave. We may have not gotten Gaara, but we have learned a lot today anyway. The teen blinked for a second before flinching. I'm sorry, Tatsuya-sensei. The man did not respond to her. Instead, Tatsuya focused on Naruto, who stood over Gaara protectively. Well done, Naruto-sama. This is where we take our leave for now, but we shall meet again. Go forth and carry the Uzumaki name well. In a flash, two metal clones came and took the place of Karen and Tatsuya. He then grabbed the unconscious Yumi, with Karen standing next to him, before throwing down a smoke bomb. Wait! Kamaitashi no Jutsu. A gale rushed past Naruto to the spot where Tatsuya and his team were. Predictably, no one was there. The clones allowed themselves to be dispatched with no fuss. Damn it, said Temari as she checked on Gaara herself. At least they're gone. If we didn't come for Gaara. Yeah. Naruto shelved the Kyuubi's chakra and gained back his own somewhat spent reserves. Like Tatsuya had said, others were approaching fast. The sounds of movement in the desert came closer and an entourage of a Sunagakure ANBU team had approached the three shinobi. Naruto released a breath he didn't know he had. At least it was over for now. Gaara woke up like he was coming up for air after spending so long in the water. An elderly woman with a faded lavender-colored hair was the first face to greet him with a small smile. The Ichibi Jinchuriki knew this to be Counselor Chiyo. "Well there, Sonny. Looks like you're going to be alright." "Hey, you're okay. Relax," came the soft voice of Naruto Uzumaki as well, as Chiyo stood up and moved away. "Chiyo-sama? You Uzumaki? Where dash?" He stopped himself as he calmed down, looking at his surroundings. He saw the oval desk where all 12 members of the Suna Council sat. All the members had familiar looks on their faces. They either looked at him with neutrality or cautiousness. "It seems you have had a strange night," Ebisu-sama, leader of the Suna Council, spoke. Gaara stood up from the soft mat laid down for him, straightening himself up. "Ah. What has transpired? How about you tell us, Gaara?" Baki, Gaara's teacher and member of the committee, asked. "According to Uzumaki-san, you were attacked by 3 hostile shinobi." Gaara nodded slowly, and carefully told the council his side of the incident with the 3 missing nin who came after him. The councilmen started conversing with each other briefly, murmuring things quietly. One councilman, the one Gaara knew as Yura, spoke up. "Well, that certainly collaborates with Uzumaki-san's story. These people were, more than likely, from the Akatsuki faction." "What did you say their names were, Chunin Uzumaki?" Lead Counselor Ebisu questioned. "Karen, Yumi, and their squad leader Tatsuya," Naruto answered calmly. Gaara remembered the same, nodding in agreement. "Interesting. From what Jonin Sarutobi had said early today, they always travel in pairs." Another counselor, one Gaara recognized as Counselor Joseki, spoke. "Nevertheless, I find it very fortunate that if not for your excellent timing that the Jinchuriki was retrieved, Chunin Uzumaki. Who knows what could have happened had we lost him?" Gaara looked confused. Naruto looked incensed by that comment, for some reason. It took the slight patting on his shoulder by Asuma to have him calm down quickly. Instead, the blonde sighed and stiffly nodded. "It was a hunch. I felt it was trouble and I checked." "We are nevertheless grateful for your help, Uzumaki-san," Ebisu said softly, bowing his head. "Sunagakure needs no more losses at this point in time." "Yes, excellent instincts on you, or perhaps something else." The counselor gave Naruto a critical look. "It is terribly convenient that you were so close by to retrieve our Jinchuriki." "The hell does that mean?" Naruto rose his eyebrow, frowning deeply at the man. "Like I said before, your shinobi, Temari, and I were in the training grounds. I'm just interested in the timing, is all. As you two were training, Gaara was being attacked not even a mile away. If we didn't go investigate it, Gaara probably wouldn't even be here. I'm sure, Uzumaki-san." The man smiled thinly. "I am just thinking of the time of it all. Not just you being at the right place at the right time, but today is a red-letter day as well. Kanahagakure sends a team that delivers a message about the Akatsuki with the Hokage's seal of approval, and then, a team from the Akatsuki of 3 members show up in the night." Some more murmurs from some of the councilmen began. Baki, Ebisu, and Chiyo were notably quiet, neutrally looking over the proceedings. Naruto scowled. "Are you implying that we're sent them here to capture Gaara, or, worse, we invited those people to try to take Gaara away?" "Naruto, relax," Asuma advised, although he didn't look pleased himself by the accusation. "Quite the assumption you have there, counselor." "The timing just bothers me, Sarutobi-san. You cannot deny how this is all piecing together so flawlessly. Temari interrupted, snorting at the insipid manner of the man. "Yeah, right. Uzumaki was with me all day training. The other times he and I weren't together were accounted for, right? We have a team following him and his team. Yeah, he can make clones and stuff and probably could have slipped away at any time, but I don't think he did that, counselor. Plus, I remember him asking early what the sound was before he sent a clone. If he was working with those Akatsuki guys, then why would he even go into the trouble to worry about that and rush after Gaara?" This was no ploy by them, Gaara spoke up, surprising just about everyone in the room who turned to him. "If Naruto Uzumaki was a part of those ninjas who attacked me, I would have felt it. What do you mean, Gaara? Baki asked his student. Ichibi no Shikaku is, for some reason, irked by the presence of Uzumaki, Gaara admitted. If he was there, disguised as one of those shinobi, Shikaku would have felt it so. No offense, Gaara-san, but you did spend most of your time unconscious. Perhaps the details were a little bit fuzzy, Joseki suggested. I need no such doubts about my own intelligence, counselor. Gaara was uncaring of how rude that may have sounded, especially to a high-ranking official of the village. Joseki was suspicious awfully of the Konoha ninjas and didn't even have the decency to hide it. That in itself was rude. 2 of those missing nin exhibited Kekkei Genkai-like abilities. I do not believe Uzumaki has such abilities in his arsenal. Yeah. I don't remember having the ability to manipulate steel or run really fast like that guy and girl. Naruto snarked. His team leader Asuma sighed, shaking his head, probably because of Naruto's blatant display of disrespect. Gaara found it easy to hide his smile. The burden of proof is on us, gentlemen, Ebisu added his opinion to all of this. We have no proof and we have little time to argue or suspect others of treachery. There's no reason to believe Uzumaki-san or his team had anything to do with this attack. After all, Konoha themselves have a stake in this Akatsuki business since they too have a Jinchuriki. As a healthy reminder to us all, Konoha has been gracious in sparing this village of further war. Let us not try inciting their wrath because of mere observations and coincidences. We have Gaara safe and sound back in the village. This group has failed. Tonight, Konoha did us a very large favor that cannot possibly be repaid. Ebisu looked around the room to all of his fellow councilmen. A few nodded back at him. The wizened man paused and gave Joseki a stern glare. Unless you have irrefutable proof of Konoha's wrongdoing, Counselor Joseki, your accusations are dead in the water. As you said before, lead counselor, Joseki started, his already thin smile straining further. Mere observations. Ebisu nodded curtly before bowing his head at the Konohagakure shinobi. Konoha shinobi, my apologies. We mean no sort of disrespect towards your team. Counselor Joseki had gotten overzealous. We were merely worried about Gaara. Uzumaki-san, can you tell us anything else about these people? Gaara could hear a small scoff from Naruto. Again, there were 3 ninjas. 2 used 2 different bloodline abilities apiece, while their last teammate was some sort of Fuinjutsu user. The leader of the group, I think his name was Tatsuya? Well, he wanted the sealer, Karen, I believe, to finish some sort of seal on Gaara, I guess to suppress both his Biju and regular chakra and keep him unconscious. That fits in line with Hokage-sama's message identifying 2 members of the Akatsuki, Ebisu-sama. Counselor Yura spoke up after observing the intermission with Counselor Joseki and the Konoha team. One of those men could use Fuinjutsu. The nearly 70 years old Ebisu coughed. It seems like the Akatsuki has a team set up with each cell they deploy, a person who has the ability to fight the Jinchuriki and a person to subdue them further. However, this cell is intriguing. They do not fit the last 2 models of an Akatsuki cell. Are we absolutely sure this is the Akatsuki you speak of? It is possible they weren't from Akatsuki. Naruto shrugged. They weren't wearing the normal Akatsuki coats, but then again, I came in contact with Shiro and Kakuzu last time and they weren't wearing the Akatsuki uniform either. I see. Regardless, everything seems to be in order. Gaara-san is awake, his seals were removed from him, and there's no real damage to his person or chakra system, correct, Shio Onisama? No damage, Shio stated calmly as she sat in her council chair. I removed the seals and healed whatever signs of damage done by the lightning release ninjutsu that was used on him. Gaara-san seems fine. Do you have anything else to add, Uzumaki-san? Naruto shook his head no. Then, I call this meeting adjourned. Find us some men that can escort Gaara-san home, as well as the team from Konoha. But before we leave, Uzumaki-san Ebisu turned to the lone Chunin in the room. As the leader of this council, I want to thank you for your contributions to helping our village in this time of need. As to sell home his gratitude, he bowed deeply. Other members of the Suna Council also bowed, even that troublesome counselor, Joseki, did so. Naruto seemed to nod, blubbering out an embarrassed no problem. As everyone cleared out, save the team from Konoha, Gaara stayed rooted in place looking at Naruto, who was getting reprimanded by his squad leader, Asuma, albeit half-heartedly. He did not understand the Konoha ninja. He was not a shinobi of their village and they were not of his. He understood why Temari came out. Perhaps like the council, she saw him as a great asset to this village, even with their cold relationship. Naruto, however, was not like that. Yes, they were allies, but that did not mean Naruto was obligated to stop the hostile shinobi from kidnapping him. Yet, he had done so without so much of a pause. It wasn't exactly secret that Gaara was a Jinchuriki, and potentially unstable as that. Even their earlier reintroduction today was awkward at best, unpleasant at worst. He was not lying when he said that the Uzumaki Chunin was strong. Someone as young as he was able to take on two strong shinobi and hold on until reinforcement came. Even if he had the inability to kill them, he still managed to keep the ninja from taking away him. How could he be so strong like that? Gaara had the status of a Jinchuriki, a flee-on-sight order from other villages, and had been doing B-rank missions since he submitted to the will of Shikaku. And yet, he was so weak still. Uzumaki, Gaara called out as nearly everyone had left. Temari, however, stood, as did Asuma. Yeah? You could have just left me and went to retrieve backup and returned back to the village. And yet, you went after the sounds. You went after me. You managed to outlast them when they easily defeated me. Why? Why did I go after you? He seemed to mull over something. Let's just say we're more alike than you think. Naruto softly stated, rubbing the back of his neck. What? Well, the Akatsuki isn't the one after you. I guess if anything we got to stick together in all of this, huh? Gaara's eyes widened. Naruto smiled tentatively. Two Suna shinobi approached the group. Anyway, it's late. We're going to rest, right, Asuma-sensei? Asuma chuckled. It has been a long day. Naruto and his squad leader left shortly afterward. Soon, Gaara and Temari followed suit when their escorts, a group of 3 shinobi. So, he told you too, huh? Temari questioned. She must have meant Naruto's Jinchuriki status. You know as well. He just told me before we left to get you, Temari spoke. You weren't the only one wondering what the hell is his problem. The conversation was finished as quickly as it started. There was a silence between them, none of them having any sort of urge to break it. However, when the escorts bowed to both of them and left them, they stepped forward into the courtyard of their mansion, the abode the Yondaime Kazekage left them and the home they had known for all their life. Right in front of their door, Temari broke the silence. The older teen looked at her feet. Did you meant what you said early today? That you did not wish to live the way the Ichibi wants you to live? Yes, the Ichibi container replied. She paused, looking him in his eyes like trying to see if he was answering truthfully. There was no reason to lie. I used to be like them, you know? I hated and feared you. Me and Kankoro both. There had been nights when I used to pray to the spirits, hoping someone would get rid of you. That wasn't very surprising to him. He hated them too, he relished in their fear. And now? Well, you said you wanted to change. You're not the only one who has to change, you know? And you already got a head start before me. The redhead shook his head. I haven't done much to change. Oh? I think so. After all, the old Gaara wouldn't have even bothered to have this conversation with me. Temari smiled. Maybe that blonde was right after all. If he is what he says he is, then why can't you be the same way as him? Gaara didn't answer back, too contained by his thoughts to give his sister a response. Not that Temari was looking for one. All she did was nod and give him a small knight, to which he nodded back at her. He watched his older sister walk into the house. He crept up to one of the seats on the porch of the mansion and sat down. Today has been long. People wanting his life had not been the most shocking thing to him today, for he had faced such before, from his own people. No, Naruto revealing himself to be a Jinchuriki surprised him. That revelation made all of Naruto's actions tonight make sense, but the motivation behind it escaped Gaara. Both of them were Jinchuriki, so perhaps that was the reason Naruto even bothered to go after him, to one day gain his help in defeating them. But Naruto could have also ended up captured. It was not worth the effort to try and save Gaara. There were many other Jinchuriki in the world, were they not? But maybe Naruto tried because he had a different reason? Was it out of a sense of camaraderie? Gaara almost banished the thought. They had not known each other very long, more time was spent under the pretense of both of them being potential enemies. However, Gaara honestly hoped it was because Naruto felt some sort of familiarity for him like he had for the Konoha shinobi. He snorted. If he was any more tickled by that thought, he would surely have burst out in a peal of laughter. Hope? Oh, the feeling of hope had become so foreign to him because it had been so long since he last had it. Yashimara had been the last person he had felt like that for, and that turned out to be misplaced. Having any sort of hope in a person felt dangerous to do. Still, even beyond his hope to develop something with the blonde from Konoha, he knew what he really wanted from Naruto. He wanted his strength. Temari could see it too, even. Naruto was not like him. In fact, he was the opposite, and yet, he was a Jinchuriki too who wasn't filled with hatred. Gaara felt a need to figure out how Naruto could become so strong without going down the same path as Gaara did. Naruto, once again, I find myself admiring your strength, Gaara thought. We're both Jinchuriki and yet, you are my better. How? I find myself envying your strength. I wonder how I can become strong just like you, Naruto. I was thinking one more day in Sunagakure, Asuma announced to his team over breakfast in the hotel. After the madness that happened last night, it's probably not a bad idea for some of us. Asuma pointedly looked at Naruto, but the blonde shrugged. Honestly, I wouldn't mind leaving early. Ino pouted and folded her arms. Bah! Not me. I haven't even been able to finish shopping around here. I'm in no rush to go back home. I just want to rest. I haven't been able to do much of that yesterday, added Shikamaru, yawning. And I still have one more meeting to go to, so sorry, Naruto. The team leader apologized, but Blonde shrugged again, focusing on his fish and steamed white rice. So, it's decided. After breakfast tomorrow, we're breaking out of here for Konoha. So, get some supplies, if need be, today. Try not to overwork yourself with training and whatnot, and make sure you're ready to go. All three of Asuma's subordinates nodded. After breakfast and chilling a bit in his shared hotel room with Shikamaru, Naruto stepped out to journey around the village. Asuma-sensei knew the earlier remark about not training too much was towards him, but honestly, Naruto felt by now he knew when to overdo it and when not to. Sure, last night he did burn a bit of chakra, more so when he was fighting those Akatsuki mooks, but nothing enough to be a problem. He was tempted to mess with his Rasengan again, but other than to maybe practice using it on the left side, he wasn't going to burn unnecessarily through his chakra with that technique today, slaving at it for hours just so he could consistently do the Rasengan. That all could wait until he got home. Instead, maybe he would mess around with some training like chakra control or practice one or two earth techniques when he got to the training grounds. So, after some light shopping for some food and other supplies for the road out of Suna, and then a brief pit stop at lunch, he finally headed to the training grounds. When he got there and saw the same blonde girl from last night, he thought someone somewhere was playing a funny prank on him. It wasn't completely bad though, nor did she look too bothered by it. We meet again, huh? Seems that way. Someone can't help but to seek me out, the Kunoichi teased as she gave him a light, playful grin. Naruto snorted. Yeah, right. This is just the only training grounds I know of in this village. You don't have to lie to me. The teen blinked owlishly. But I'm not. Temari only hummed, still with that grin on her face. She looked positively in a good mood. She geared back her fan and swung, a billow of wind blasting towards a lone tree-like cactus in the training grounds and slicing at it cleanly. The arms of the plant fell off, and water spilled out of the fallen appendage. Naruto looked over at the girl and an idea came to his head. Silently, he watched the girl use her wind attacks, spamming them as she swung her fan continuously through the air. Say, you use wind release, right? Oh geez, really? Whatever brought on that idea? Naruto rolled his eyes at her sarcasm. You know, you owe me from last night. Oh? Temari folded her fan and leaned on it. You meaning to tell me you weren't doing all of that out of the goodness of your heart? The Chunin chuckled. Of course I was. I don't regret a thing, but I also recognize an opportunity when I see one. You're obviously great with wind release. So, I'm wondering if you can show me how to do it like you. And why should I do that? I just told you, you owe me, Naruto retorted, pointing at Temari. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have even thought about going into the desert last night. Temari smiled wryly, you're not wrong. Sighing, she scratched her head. Still, why do you want to learn wind release? And why now? Aren't you, like, leaving in a few days? Actually, tomorrow. Then I still don't get it. The kunoichi scratched her head in confusion. Naruto didn't blame her. It was certainly an out-of-the-blue idea. Still, he had his reasons. I just need tips from someone on it. I would wait and go back to my village, Konoha, but since you are a futon user, I thought you could possibly spare some time on me. Not very long, of course, just some tips. Plus, Naruto paused, to add in a shrug. I really don't have much else to do here. Temari mulled on it for a bit before sighing again. Alright, you're right. I do owe you. If it wasn't for you, then who knows where Gaara would be. I don't know how much you think you'll accomplish today with learning tips about wind release because it takes years even getting it down, but hey, I'll help. Naruto grinned at her. Thanks. Wordlessly, she walked over to one of the many discarded pieces of cactus and hovered her hand over it. Naruto heard the screech of wind, and soon after, Temari held up the piece of cactus without a care in the world. He realized that with her wind release, the spines of the cactus were sliced off and she could hold the piece without needing to worry about getting hurt. Here, she called and handed him the piece. The first thing we're taught is to get a feel of our wind chakra by cutting a bit into something. To use wind chakra, you have to split your chakra into two, and then grind them together. The hell does that mean? It means you best figure it out, or you will never get how to use wind chakra. Temari retorted. Naruto didn't appreciate the comment. Can you at least tell me what do you mean by saying grind them together? I mean, you must force your chakra to split into two, and then have them grind against each other so much until you can force them back together. That creates wind. The kunoichi scratched her head. Wind is the most complex element to learn, much less wield. It's also why only a handful of wind users exist in the elemental countries, even here in Suna. This is why I said you shouldn't expect getting much done today. We'll see. Naruto then used the hand seal for his Kage Bunshin and summoned 5 clones of his with duplicated cacti in their hands. Okay, but why use those clones? Naruto already anticipated she was going to ask him something about his Kage Bunshin. He didn't bother to explain. He and his clones got to work immediately. Temari didn't watch him for long as the process of him attempting to get some sort of progress with the cacti wasn't exactly riveting. More concerned about her training, the kunoichi turned away to practice. Naruto knew it had been an hour of him training this wind exercise. Like Temari had said, learning the wind element was difficult and he was basically brute-forcing his way through any sort of progress. He had thought for a second that he was really going to have to train this on his own. However, when he heard aloud, "Hey, I did it," from one of his clones, and the clone dispelled itself to give Naruto a flood of memories, he knew something good had come up. Like him, Temari stopped what she was doing, and turned around to see. Attempting to move his chakra as his clone had done before, Naruto smirked in her direction. "Hey, Temari," Naruto called. "Look at this." Temari looked at the handiwork and blinked owlishly. He put his right hand above the cacti piece and she watched in amazement as the younger shinobi cut into the thick skin of the cacti with chakra. It was small, and not that very deep. It wasn't even at all either. The jagged carving of the plant was a sign of his amateurism. Still, in at least an hour, he had done something with the wind element. What the hell? Temari gazed at Naruto with a mixture of awe, disbelief, and even a touch bit of jealousy. How the hell did you do that? He smirked at her, wagging his fingers. That's my secret and my secret only. Temari narrowed her eyes at him and was about to pry more out of the boy, but both straightened up when they saw Naruto's squad leader approach the training grounds. Naruto. Good. I'm glad I found you here. Asuma-sensei. What's up? We're leaving right now. Finish up whatever you have to here and let's go. Naruto raised an eyebrow but nodded. As the clones behind them dispelled, Naruto turned to Temari and gave her a nod too. Well, thanks for the tips. Temari shook her head. No problem. I had a question, but I guess that has to wait until the next time we meet. Until then. Thanks again. Tell Gaara I said, bye, Naruto commented, giving the girl one last smile. Temari returned it and gave him a nod. He turned to give his squad leader his attention. I thought we were going to stay one more day. We were, but the Suna Council informed me that a sandstorm was coming our way, maybe 2 days out currently. They predicted it would be passing through the desert for a week. It already takes at least 2 days to travel between Konoha and Suna, so I rather we leave early enough to not get caught in the storm. Naruto grinned. That worked for him, still having the same opinion he had early at breakfast. When he got back to his hotel room, he would practically be throwing his clothing back into his book bag. Jiraiya woke up that morning, deciding that today was the day to get to the bottom of things. Sasuke Uchiha and the problem circling him was a major concern, yes, but there were other things that concerned the Hokage. Jiraiya had finished a good bulk of his work in his office this morning, assigning some missions for those who had to come through the office for their assignments. Then, when lunchtime came, he stepped out, past the elders. He walked up to the roof of the academy, enjoying the light breeze and the above view of his home. There was a swirl of wind and he was joined by his former teammate. He nodded at her. Glad you made it. Surprised you look half decent today too. Tsunade snorted. Please. I always look immaculate. Not when you're smashed. I still look better than your ugly mug. Jiraiya guffawed, a smile coming onto his face. Well, that's not fair. Ain't they say you're one of the most beautiful kunoichi in the world? And they're right about that. The buxom blonde cocked her hip, and he silently ran his eyes on her, though only for a few seconds. It was no secret Jiraiya was a pervert and he thoroughly enjoyed the contours of a woman's body. However, it was also no secret Tsunade despised perversion. It was hard not to gawk when Tsunade stood in front of him though. No woman could compare to the Senju and Uzumaki scion. Those Uzumaki genes were a blessing, or maybe it was just her henge no jutsu at work. He honestly forgot about that thing most of the time he saw Tsunade. Shit, he swore inwardly at his sloppiness. He was staring a bit too much, and he knew Tsunade knew that too. However, Tsunade must have been in a good mood because all she did was smile a bit and not try to clock his head clean off his shoulders. Alright, enough banter. We're going to get to this or what? After all, you're the one who said this absolutely has to be done today. Yes, Jiraiya replied, wiping the smile off his face. I don't like that sensei left so many damn loose ends to get rid of. In our line of work, that's a problem. You remember that old adage, a ninja that lives past 30 becomes twice as dangerous. Tsunade nodded. You're not wrong. Who knows what Sarutobi-sensei's old teammates were up to behind his back, and now behind yours too. So, let's go pay Shimura a visit. The two became blurs, rushing through the village until they have gotten to a small, almost inconspicuous, but still very well taken of house. Jiraiya had read the notes from the ANBU that the Sandaime Hokage posted to survey the house and know where Danzo's whereabouts were at all times. Currently, the Shimura elder had been placed on house arrest for years. Jiraiya had known the reason exactly, which is why it was more prudent to go see what the older man was up to. Jiraiya knocked, and after a few seconds, someone came to the door. It was a young teenage boy with pale skin, jet black hair, and similarly colored eyes. The boy addressed the two shinobi with an affable smile and a respectable bow. "Hokage-sama, and Tsunade-sama too. Danzo-sama had said he expected you here, my lord." The Hokage frowned. "Shimura expected us, huh?" "Oh, please do not be alarmed. He assumed you would visit him, especially when you succeeded Sandaime-sama." The boy then stood straight, moved, and held the door open, allowing Jiraiya and Tsunade to walk into the house. With a quick technique, Jiraiya scanned the house briefly for any sort of seal work. He expected the same of Tsunade. The blonde kunoichi didn't look too bothered and had a cool look on her face. He relaxed. He hadn't detected any sort of foul play. They allowed the boy to walk ahead of them in order to lead them to a room. "Ah, it seems I was right," came the voice of Danzo Shimura, former shinobi and council member of Konohagakure. He sat at his living room's table, drinking from a cup of water. His hand shook, some of the water spilling on it. The man grunted softly, reaching for a napkin. "Welcome to my humble abode, Hokage-sama." The veteran didn't regard Tsunade. "Forgive me if I don't stand and bow. I find my body these days has many difficulties doing even the simplest of tasks." Jiraiya could attest to that. The way Sarutobi-sensei made it seem like in the letters he left him, he expected Danzo to be old, but spry who, despite his advanced age, to have strong, dense chakra and a still able body, something like how the late Sandaime Hokage had been. Instead, the man looked like he was barely alive. He had medium-length, shaggy ash-black hair that attempted but failed to hide a multitude of scars surrounding the right side of his face. He wore an eye patch on his right eye, or where his right eye should be. Danzo had lacked an arm from what the tied-up white kimono sleeve and lack of a bulge where an arm should be suggested. The former shinobi also had a wooden cane at his side. Jiraiya had met the man years ago before the Uchiha massacre occurred. He was retired back then and he did not officially take missions or whatever, so Jiraiya did not know what had caused this old man to look so ruined. The Shimura man surely did not look like this before. "To what do I owe this visit to you, my lord?" "Sorry for dropping in, unannounced," the Hokage apologized, almost dryly. "But I just need to take a few moments of your time, then I'll leave you be." "By all means. Sit, why don't you?" The elder man waved his hand to his caretaker. "Saikuin, prepare some tea for us." The teen obeyed and bowed at the three adults before leading toward what Jiraiya assumed was the kitchen. "I'll get to it then. I know the truth about the Uchiha massacre." "I bet you do," dryly smiled the Shimura. "It seems like Hiruzen could not put it behind him." "I couldn't either with how many ways this story has been told." Jiraiya glared. The documents officially state that Itachi went rogue, slaughtered his clan for little reason other than madness. The documents between the council and the Hokage stated he destroyed his clan consciously after. Refusing to listen to the Hokage's orders to wait things out and for him to talk to him to Fugaku Uchiha. But there's another story that only I, the Sandaime, and you know, isn't there? A story that pieces everything together. "And what story is this, my lord?" Danzo asked calmly. He sat there, shakily drinking a glass of water, though it wasn't for a lack of nerves. Jiraiya felt annoyed by that. Bastard. That Itachi Uchiha slaughtering his clan for the good of the village is not the true story of this whole thing. He slaughtered the clan, unwillingly. In fact, he was under the will of someone else's, wasn't he? Your will. The elder Shimura nodded. He was. How in the hell did you ensnare a Sharingan user in a genjutsu? Why, by the use of the Sharingan itself, of course. The tea had finally come in, Sai providing them with it. He bowed briefly and retreated out of the room. If he had any idea of what was said, he did not speak on it. Danzo continued, every Mangekyo Sharingan user in history, as rare as they came, had unique dojutsu. Not one of them had the same set of eyes nor the same techniques with them. Itachi had the Amaterasu and the Tsukiyomi, and Shisui had the Koto Amatsukami. Jiraiya blinked in confusion. Shisui Uchiha? I thought he committed suicide that night. It seems Hiruzen's findings aren't as complete as you thought. Still your tongue, old bastard, Jiraiya snapped. Danzo's words were taunting him now. I thought Itachi was the only Uchiha in all of this shit, but now you're alluding to Shisui Uchiha, who was said to have killed himself a few nights before the massacre. His official story suggested he could not help bring the downfall of his clan and so killed himself out of guilt. Just tell me, what did you do to Shisui? 2 months before it happened, Shisui was the one to tell us of the coup the Uchiha were planning. He then told us of the Koto Amatsukami, the ability his Mangekyo could use. It could cast a mind-controlling genjutsu so subtle that not even the greatest of Sharingan users could detect it. It could easily allow a person to control another and make their target believe what they were doing was of their own will. I stole Shisui's eyes. Both of them, Danzo freely admitted. Unbothered, even as hot tea spilled on his shaky hand. Such a powerful technique was perfect in handling any sort of thing the Uchiha attempted. He did not want to use it to control them immediately. Shisui was trying to save his clan by talking first. He was trying to negotiate with them, attempting to talk them down, but, of course, they weren't listening to him. The time for talking had already been over. We took over the situation. More than put off with Danzo, Jiraiya filled in the rest of the blanks himself. And instead of allowing him to use this genjutsu himself, you decided you needed to use it for him. Even when he said he was willing to do it himself. So, you killed him. And then what happened after you dealt with the body? Paraded as him so it wouldn't look suspicious? Sent him on a mission from the village conveniently around the same time he told you? The counselors set up the mission. Hiruzen did allow them to set up missions in his stead. Jiraiya knew that was true. A fact he hated. Why did his teacher reward these people with so much power? After Shisui came home, it was said then that he committed suicide, but he had been long gone. As for Itachi, we set up another mission for him to come in and do. I used this Koto Amatsukami on Itachi, and ordered him to slaughter the clan. Bastards, the Hokage sneered. You three are all pathetic. You must understand, Hokage-sama, I have done this all for the good of the village. The Hokage rolled his eyes. Spare me the sickeningly noble speech. You were being far from it anyway. I know exactly why you did what you did. It was out of fear. You feared he would use the technique eventually on the village, or maybe even you. And such a possibility was absurd? The effect of the technique is so subtle that our greatest genjutsu users could not tell if they are being influenced by it. In the hands of an Uchiha, even someone like Shisui, who was, admittedly, a true patriot to his village, is dangerous. So, what? In your hands, the dojutsu was safe? The village would have been safe knowing you had it within you? You weren't exactly known for your peacekeeping ways, Shimura. You're a warhawk through and through. You sacrificed plenty of people, our people, just because you believed it was the right thing to do. The Hokage then sneered. For a traitor, you're so damn calm that it's pissing me off. The man no longer had a placid, calm face. His already marred face scrunched up uglily. I have safeguarded this village for decades, Hokage. If I could, I would still to this day. I have done things that Hiruzen in his softness could not even dare do when he was still alive. You're getting quite loose with your words, Shimura, Jiraiya hissed dangerously. I grow tired of your blatant disrespect for not only me but the Sandame. I can just kill you here and no one would blink an eye. You would be doing me a favor. The older man chuckled wryly. That earned him a slap he could not hope to defend against. He bounced back, coughing as blood dribbled from his mouth. Jiraiya's nose flared. Do you not value your life? You're disrespectful and spit in the face of me and the Sandame. The man literally kept you alive even after you went behind his back. Kept me alive, so I can suffer, Danzo muttered angrily. The old man had a small coughing fit, spitting up blood and saliva to his right. He shakingly grabbed a tissue and rubbed the blood onto it. I am with one eye, one arm, and I can barely move. I am an old, tired man who is in constant pain every single day. Hiruzen had at least the luxury to die. I have not yet. The years have not been kind to me, as you can see. I have a litany of scars upon my body, a missing arm, and a missing eye, all given in the name of Kanahagakure. All you can do is think about yourself, huh? I have done everything with the village in mind, not myself. Jiraiya gave the old warhawk a heated stare. No. This is all because you thought you knew all the answers, but you did not. All you've done is cause havoc and chaos by taking matters into your hands when you should have left it to your betters. The mistake you made was thinking you had the same, no, higher, authority than the Hokage. That's treason. You may think of me as a killer of countrymen, destroyer of one of the greatest clans in history, and you are not far off, but I am no traitor. Danzo hissed back. I have done all of that for the sake of the village. I have done so much that I have nothing left anymore. And I would do it again. I can die in peace knowing what I did has kept the village going. Again, spare me your bullshit. It does not matter what you think, Danzo grunted. My time and Hiruzen's time and even the counselor's time are coming to an end. With you now knowing the truth, they will soon find they cannot hold on to their little power anymore. You mean counselors Mitokado and Udatane were into your little plan? Why am I not surprised? The man nodded. Why yes. They helped me lure Shursui into my plan for him. And more. I had Itachi ensnared in this dojutsu for at least 2 months before the slaughtering of the Uchiha clan had happened. They ensured those Uchiha who had missions outside the village, or who were in high positions in the village such as the ANBU, were executed through various ways, either by Itachi or by our own hands. The counselors had been my arduous supporters for years, helping things get done when they should, and helping Hiruzen see reason sometimes. Hiruzen lived life believing there was good in everyone, that we could be diplomatic on the battlefield when we should be raising our blades. Soft. Soft, huh? As if what you've gotten us into was any better. Jiraiya scoffed. My plan has saved us from further bloodshed of our country. No. All it did was just eradicate our strongest clan and the potential military strength we could have had against a dangerous S-ranked missing nin group bent on collecting Biju for Kemi knows what. Your plan also has caused one of our ninjas, who has a lot of confidential information like village secrets, to join the said group. Jiraiya gave the veteran a look that lesser men would shit themselves if felt. Your plan failed. The older man merely stared back with one eye before sighing. I cannot deny that there have been some unforeseen consequences. Itachi was under my control and I told him to slay his clan, and that much happened. However, I did not foresee the next part of him joining the Akatsuki and becoming a missing nin. He should have merely slain his clan and returned back to us. The Kodo Amatsukami is a technique that once applied can never be broken by the target themselves. That just means that Itachi found some way to break it, or had someone break it. No technique is flawless. Then perhaps there is someone else out there, more dangerous than Itachi can ever be. And you sent Itachi to see him, along with the other members of the Akatsuki, Jiraiya snarked. So, you mean to say that there's another rogue Uchiha out there? Perhaps. Itachi wasn't the only missing nin Uchiha in our history. But even then, there is someone else that can possibly have done it. There's no time to be cryptic anymore, especially when this is a threat to our village you're talking about. Jiraiya barked. The fact that you held this in for years and the Sandame had no clue of it is infuriating. Hiruzen knew of who I am speaking of. This dash then Danzo paused, and suddenly had a remarkably pained expression on his face. The man's laboring started to increase, beads of sweat erupted from him. Person. Yes, yes. I can say person. They were dangerous. Are dangerous. Jiraiya watched Danzo sputter and cough for air with a blank expression. When he finally calmed down, Jiraiya asked Danzo, "Who is this person? What's their name?" "I cannot say." "I told you. You can't be cryptic anymore. Give me a damn name." Instead of saying the name, Danzo drank a bit of his tea. Besides being annoyed again, Jiraiya was surprised Danzo didn't spill the rest of it all down already. "I assume you are now well intimate with Root and its members. Your little side group that the Sandaime allowed for a while until your stunt during the massacre?" "Yeah." The crippled veteran ignored the snarky comment. When Root was active, it was treated as a higher, more clandestine part of ANBU. Very few people knew of its existence. In my Root, when we recruited members, we had branded them with the Zeka Kenzetsu no one that prevented them from speaking about the organization or about me. All stuff I know already. So, what does this got to do with anything now? Come now, my lord. You have filled in plenty of blanks before. Jiraiya, stopping himself from once again slapping the daylights out of this decrepit piece of shit that paraded around as a veteran, thought about it for a few seconds before coming up with an answer. "Show me your tongue." Danzo obeyed and Jiraiya could see it. Unlike the seal made of 3 bar lines in the back of the tongue and 2 broken lines on the tip, the cursed seal on the former Root commander's tongue was completely alien to Jiraiya. There were 12 lines on Danzo's tongue, 3 were going to the back of his tongue, 3 were going the tip, and 6 were on both sides of his tongue, respectively. But what really caught Jiraiya was in the middle of these lines, sat neatly, was a spiral. Symbols of a seal were important. Some were characters like kanji that stated words, some were shapes that represented properties like power, range, or even time of a seal's effect. The spiral symbol of a seal represented infinity and eternity. Something that would always happen, repeat, and never end. Spiral symbols were rare in sealing work because it had to take a hell of a lot of chakra to reinforce one. The spiral symbol of a seal also was a unique symbol of one clan, the Uzumaki clan. Jiraiya had taken several looks at Tsunade throughout this meeting with Danzo. She stayed very cool, save some narrowing of her eyes a few times in the talk. However, she now was wide-eyed and very confused. Jiraiya couldn't help but sigh in annoyance. For someone who was known to be so calm to the point of emotionless, Danzo really had an innate knack for theatrics. For Kami's sake. Couldn't you just show me your tongue, huh? You do remember me and Tsunade are accomplished seal masters, don't you? This person was an Uzumaki? Danzo merely sighed. I cannot say. Just merely thinking of. It is painful. I, for a lack of a better word, panicked. The seal prevents me from speaking of their name, their clan, or of anything that can incriminate them. It also prevents me from doing any real actions that can be used against them. Even thinking was hard. Tsunade and I could attempt to remove the seal, Jiraiya suggested, but Danzo waved his hand. Do not bother. As you say, you are both seal masters, and you know of the risk of messing with cursed seals. If you could not remove Orochimaru's seal from the Uchiha boy, you cannot with this either. Figures Jiraiya's counselors told Danzo. I shouldn't be so surprised that you know what happened with what I did to Sasuke's seal. I'm guessing this seal can't be suppressed in any sort of way, since you didn't bring that possibility up. I, too, was a seal master, Hokage-sama, well versed in the usage of cursed seals. I was the architect of the Zeka Kenzetsu no one after all. The sealer who did this to me. Then Danzo paused, his face starting to sweat again. Seemed like Danzo could not talk about it any further without suffering. All the older man did was sigh deeply. Doing so would be the immediate death of me, and although that may satisfy you, you will be no closer to the truth. Jiraiya looked over to Tsunade and she nodded. As much as they would want to try, it wasn't worth it. Plus, it could take weeks to a month to draw up something to counter that. Spiral seals, Jiraiya found, were one of the strongest types of seals. Leave it to an Uzumaki to be involved in this mess. This seal prevents me even from thinking about the person for too long. It took everything to even utter something that would satisfy the seal without harming me too much. Hiruzen had a suspicion of the person who could have done this but sought to do nothing of it. He perhaps figured it was me getting what was owed to me. Jiraiya glared. You don't know the Sandaime then. Pettiness isn't what he would resort to if he knew the village would be threatened by this person. Hiruzen is a dead man and had more secrets to him than even me, my lord. Danzo shook his head. Again, the man was secretive, but after Jiraiya saw Danzo's cursed seal he wondered if it was because he was forced to speak in tongues. Did Sarutobi-sensei know who this person was? I cannot say. Jiraiya was starting to believe that I cannot say was a way to say yes. So, what? Sensei knew the person who attached the cursed seal to Danzo's tongue, probably cut off his arm, tore out his right eye, and allowed him to suffer? If it was Jiraiya, he would probably allow it himself, but only if he knew where this person was going to be after. The old war hawk deserved it and more. But that wasn't Sarutobi-sensei's style, was it? This person is dangerous and could be very much out be there still to this day. They could be tied to the Akatsuki, Itachi, the breaking of the Koto Amatsukami. There is a reason why I no longer can use the technique. So he destroyed Shirsue's Sharingan eyes. Again, not answering directly, Danzo narrowed his eye. May you and Konohagakure have the greatest of luck. May you succeed where I and Hiruzen have failed. You two only failed because you two refused to work together. You may call Sarutobi-sensei soft, and perhaps you are right. After all, Orochimaru was walking around so long before his death. But you were too extreme. If you had just allowed things to happen in a different way, then maybe we wouldn't be in such a mess. The Hokage stood up, draining the cold tea from the teacup in one gulp. Then he placed it back down gently. You're right though, you, Sarutobi-sensei, and the two counselors' times are up. It's time for a new era. And you all have left quite the mess for me to clean up. Danzo said nothing to refute what Jiraiya said. I just got to ask though. Are the counselors looking for someone to replace me? Are they going to move against me? They originally wanted me to replace Hiruzen long ago, but as you can see, I cannot do so. I do not know who they would want to install as another Hokage, but it is possible they have men loyal to them in this village. And you are just fine admitting all this against your allies? With how freely I have spoken about this, I would have thought you had realized that I do not see Mitokado nor Udatain as my allies. My concern has, and always will be, for the village. We may have different beliefs, but you are taking the information you know now to destroy Konohagakure's enemies. You are the start of a future era. Perhaps you can find a way better than us. The man then moved to stand, and Jiraiya was sure the conversation was over and it was time to leave the house. Then, Danzo, though with great difficulty, bowed to not only Jiraiya but Tsunade as well. May you leave with the will of fire burning in your hearts, Lord Hokage and Tsunade-sama. If you shall permit it, I shall leave to retire to my room. Saikuin shall see you out. Jiraiya nodded, we're done here. Good day, Shimura. And with that, Danzo left the living room to go to another, probably his bedroom. Sai came to the room and walked the Hokage and Tsunade outside of the house. Sai himself bowed to both of them before closing the door again. Well, that was something. I didn't do much talking. Not that I needed to. Nor was I needed there, it seemed, Tsunade replied, shrugging. Well, you got your answers to the truth. We know now that the Konoha Council needs a bit of some spring cleaning, and we even got an idea of another enemy in the hills. Oh, Konoha doesn't lack for those these days, my dear, Jiraiya said dryly. Still, this guy or gal or a group of people, for all we know, has to be powerful enough to take out Danzo and go under Sarutobi-sensei's nose. Or may not so. You heard what Shimura was implying. You think Sensei would just allow someone to do that to Danzo? Traitor or not, the man was correct. Sarutobi-sensei wouldn't let someone under his rule suffer like that. Especially not Danzo, who he and Sensei were childhood friends. I don't know. Not even sure about Sensei being innocent. If the person could get rid of a big problem like Danzo was, why wouldn't Sensei take the chance? Besides that, I am not even sure if Sensei allowed anything to happen. Perhaps Sensei was forced. But all we're doing here is trying to find an answer we can't even see. All we know is there's someone out there that can potentially be a real threat to this village. Tsunade sighed, putting her hands on her hips. And they from the Uzumaki clan at that. Don't know what that means, but I feel like it's trouble. Only time will tell. Tsunade nodded and they began a few minutes of uncomfortable silence. When they finally got back to Jiraiya's office and sat in his lounging room, Tsunade let out a deep sigh. I want you to know something, Jiraiya. Whatever Danzo said in his house about him being some sort of patriot looking out for the good of the country was bullshit, no doubt. However, Sarutobi-sensei made all the wrong mistakes here. His unwillingness to act fast has caused a lot of what happened to the Uchiha. She put a hand up before her former teammate could say anything. And you may not want to hear that, but it's true. Sensei had imbued both Danzo and the counselors with so much power because he was unwilling to do some of the nastiest things a shinobi should do, much less a Hokage, for their village and their country. Maybe the Second World War changed something in Sensei because what I heard back there with our meeting with Danzo wasn't the makings of Hiruzen Sarutobi. That wasn't the same man who trained us, who gave us such terrible strength that to this day makes people respect and fear our names, who said to us to strike fast and hard at our enemies before they even knew we were there. Sensei had plenty of options he could have taken to deal with the Uchiha and he took none of them, leaving them to anyone who was willing to get their hands dirty to see the task done. And that's the reality of things, Jiraiya. Sensei didn't sound like he wanted to get hands dirty anymore. He went through 3 wars. Maybe he just got tired of it. That's... Jiraiya stopped, his expression marred with confusion, anger, disgust, and horror. If that's true, then that's not how a Hokage should act. He couldn't get tired. He couldn't afford it. He was the Hokage. A Hokage never sleeps, Jiraiya. I thought I told you that already. Sensei was an old man. He wasn't supposed to come back to the title, but you remember what happened. Yeah, Jiraiya groused out, thinking about the Kyuubi. The damn fox happened, Minato died, and no one stepped up. So, he had to retake the mantle. I didn't even do it. The man rubbed his temples. God. Damn it. That's not your fault, so don't even blame yourself for that one. Tsunade frowned. No, that's Sensei's fault. He should have known he wasn't up for this anymore. This is why I don't want the job. It's too damn problematic. All of this shit. Yeah, but someone's gotta do it, princess. You could easily get someone else to do it. There's a few shinobi here that could do the job. Tsunade shook her head. Does it have to be you? I've been doing this for a while. Getting my hands dirty, spying for our village, killed quite a few people that may or may not deserve it. If you're worried about me not being cut out for the job, I am not saying that. I'm saying if you really wanted this job. Nope. I didn't really. All I'm doing here is waiting until the right person comes along. Well, we got one candidate so far. Just gotta wait until he's ready. The brat, right? Tsunade asked, obviously referencing Jiraiya's godson. Naruto wants to be the Hokage one day. Gotta keep the seat warm for him. I guess you're going to be keeping that shit toasty then. Naruto's at least a decade more away from the position. If I'm still here when I'm 60, I'll just foist it off to him a bit earlier. Kami, I hope he gets a bit mature by then. Maybe even taller. Tsunade let off a small smile. Cracking jokes aside, I just hope you keep that same energy. For all our sakes here. Glad to know you believe you're back on Team Konoha again. Got to. Otherwise, your ass would be in trouble without me. Probably, the Hokage commented before groaning as he stood. He walked to a shelf, grabbing him and his soon-to-be advisor a cup apiece and a bottle of sake. He could see mirth dancing in Tsunade's eyes. The man guffawed. It's been a long day, and it hasn't finished yet. So, let's take a drink. Cheers, Tsunade. Cheers. Both of them clinked their drinks. Jiraiya took a sip while Tsunade took a healthy gulp. Ah. Jiraiya smacked his lips. So, my lovely assistant, what is next on the list? We went to see Danzo, but we didn't need to deal with him at all. We learned of a possible new enemy, but that can wait for later to solve. Deal with our problems at home. Next on the agenda, the counselors. Yep, and once they're gone, I can start ruling with a cleaner slate hopefully. The Senju Scion noised, grabbing the sake bottle to pour herself another round. Let me tell you how things are going to proceed when you do your spring cleaning. Besides maybe giving you some grief on how you proceed with things, you're not going to have me go under you doing shit and hoping you're too stupid or soft to notice. But I would love to have you under me. Before Jiraiya could finish that perverse thought, Tsunade put down her cup and cracked her knuckles. Okay, you're back in serious mode. The buxom blonde growled. As I said, I'm not doing anything without you knowing. That's too much energy for me. Think of me as merely an observer and someone who gives you advice. Yeah, I know. Unlike the counselors, deep down I know you respect me. And I do you. I trust you, Tsunade. Jiraiya smiled. If there's anyone who will have my back going through this hell, I know you will. See, now I don't want to smack you. Should have started with the charm instead. His friends snorted. Of course, it wouldn't hurt to have another advisor too, if you like. Having 3 heads thinking instead of 2 is better in the long run. Just remember one thing, Hokage-sama, Tsunade uttered, giving Jiraiya a calm stare. Don't make the same mistakes as Sarutobi-sensei. If you rule, rule utterly. Without a doubt. Jiraiya stared back at her with a similar expression.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.